Living Ballarat. Back in Burns, I'm the host and coordinator of Smart Living Ballarat, and this is our first session for 2025. It is a repeat session. We did run this topic last year, but a lot of people missed it or asked for it again, and it's still extremely relevant because it's very hot outside. So hopefully you get a lot of good tips from the session today. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, the Wurrung people of the Kulin Nation, and pay my respects to their elders past and present. Smart Living Ballarat is a free monthly workshop series put on in collaboration between Breeze and the City of Ballarat. And most of our sessions are held here at the Sebastopol Library. It's kind of our home, although we do have a couple of sessions at different places. So the program until August is now locked in and announced, if you want to take one of these postcards. So next month we're doing the Cheap Eats session, again a repeat session but extremely requested. A lot of people missed it last year and very relevant still with the cost of living and rising price of groceries. And then the next 3 months I'll actually be on maternity leave, so I won't be hosting the sessions from April to June. Our Grace will be hosting in April, and that will be a session about life without a car, living in Ballarat without a car or using a car less. So that will be a panel discussion with 4 locals that either don't use a car or don't use a car as their main mode of transport. Then in May we are not at Sebastopol Library, we're going to the Repair Cafe in Berkeley Square and getting a tour there of what they do and how you can be involved. That's a once a month volunteer run event where you can take anything that's broken, including clothes that need mending, and get it fixed by volunteers and just hang out and have a cuppa and a biscuit. So we'll be going to Berkeley Square for that one. Back at Sebastopol Library for June, which is a Nature Stewards session. So that's another program sponsored by the City of Ballarat for nature lovers and people that want to learn more about the environment surrounding Ballarat. And then in July we're going to do an induction stovetop demo, and that venue is to be confirmed. I'm working on that at the moment because it will be a comparison between a gas stove and an induction burner. So it will be somewhere with a kitchen, possibly back at Berkeley Square. So that program until August is now locked in. That will be available on the website as well. And I've also made a checklist of the tips that we're going through today. So you can take this home and tick them off as you go through them. And I will link that to the Facebook page as well, so people can download it from online. Now I'm going to sit down because my stamina is a little bit lower than normal. So I've got my stool today, and we'll get right into it. So rule number 1 is cool yourself first. This is similar to the heat yourself first tip when you're talking about staying warm in winter. Very important to make sure that you do everything that you can to make yourself cool. And the first step there is, I'm actually wearing those exact same shorts today, look at that. Make sure that you're wearing appropriate clothing, so loose, thin, natural fibres are cooler than synthetic fibres. Light colours are cooler, especially if you're going to be in the sun. Black soaks up heat very quickly. Hat, if you're going outside, sandals, hair up. I don't have my hair up today, but my hair's actually wet in that photo because I just had a shower. But all of those kind of things really make a really big difference, and they're kind of your first line of defence. Shoes and hats and synthetic fibres keep a lot of heat in. Stay hydrated. Use a keep cup. I'm trying to exhibit as many of my tips as I can today. So this is an insulated cup. I've got some ice in here with some water. You can use a keep cup or a thermos as well, full of ice to keep you cool all day, even if you're just at home. Keeping ice in a thermos keeps it cool for a really long time. And enjoy frozen treats like icicles or frozen fruit. I haven't been craving that much weird stuff during my pregnancy, but cold grapes I am currently obsessed with. So I don't freeze my grapes, but I keep them in the fridge, and cold crisp grapes out of the fridge I'm eating multiple times a day at the moment. I just find them so satisfying and refreshing. So I highly recommend you give them a go. And also don't forget your pets as well. This is my dog Tycho, and we give him freezer treats when it's cold, when it's hot as well. So this is like a puzzle feeder thing where I've frozen dog food in it, and it lasts him quite a while. But we also give him like frozen banana and just ice cubes. He loves ice cubes actually. He knows when you're going to the freezer. He'll get really excited and follow you to the freezer and ask for an ice cube every time. Ice packs or wet face washes on your neck and wrists. Your neck and your wrists tend to hold a lot of heat because that's where your veins are really close to the skin. So if you're able to apply ice around your neck or on your wrists, it cools you down really effectively. Or even just a wet face washer will do a lot as well. And the classic putting your feet in a bucket of water, never to be underestimated. I've been doing this quite a lot during pregnancy as well. Add ice if needed, but usually cold water is enough. And again, your feet, cooling down your feet makes a really big difference to your body temperature. You can spritz yourself with water. These little fan and water combos are really good. I've taken these to music festivals a lot when it's 41 degrees and you're out in a paddock. These are quite crucial. Quite cheap from, I think, $5 from Kmart or Bunnings, that kind of thing. And they last quite a while. One thing I have found is if you spray your face a lot, it tends to dry your face out. You might need moisturiser afterwards. And having a cold shower. I've tried this tip using menthol body wash. I actually have a body wash at the moment that is menthol. It does give you a cooling sensation literally when you're using it and not for any time after that. So it's more of a mind trick, this one. It makes you feel cool in the shower, but it's not necessarily a lasting kind of effect. And keep your hair wet after your shower, as I did this morning and in that photo of me before. Partly the wet hair cools you down, but also not using a hairdryer. Obviously, that is going to inject a lot of heat around if you're drying your hair with a hairdryer in the morning. And if you're using moisturiser or aloe vera, especially if you've got a bit of sunburn, keeping your aloe vera in the fridge is really effective and cools you down a lot. As well as using heat bags, you can actually use most kind of what we call heat bags or wet bags as cold bags as well, if you keep them in the freezer or the fridge. So you can make your own by putting rice or oats in a clean sock and just tying up the end if you want a no sewing solution. I wouldn't recommend wetting them and then freezing them because then you'll have oatmeal in there afterwards. Again, natural fibres are a lot cooler than synthetic fibres, so try and use linen, cotton, silk or satin sheets on your bed. I've seen this tip a lot to soak your sheets with water and freeze them before you put them on the bed. It's not a good idea. That's a really good way to get mould in your mattress. So I would not recommend would not recommend that tip, even though it's thrown around online quite a lot.
That bamboo sheet.
Oh yeah, bamboo. Yeah, bamboo. Depends on the mix. Often bamboo sheets are mixed with synthetic fibres as well. So I think it would depend on the brand. Just check the label as to what they're actually made of.
Because percentage of bamboo is probably very slight.
Yeah, unfortunately, some of those bamboo products are. Some of them verge on greenwashing.
Just
Where
sales.
it sounds like a natural fibre, but then they often mix them with plastic kind of fibres. Yeah.
I think hemp might be a good
Mm.
solution now. It's becoming more and more popular.
Hemp is great if you can get your hands on it. It is less common than linen or flax, but hemp is really good as well. It's got similar properties to linen, but also very eco to produce as well. And now that the hemp industry has become, it used to be heavily regulated, even though hemp is not, you can't get high off hemp. They used to kind of try and stamp that out, but the hemp industry in Australia is really booming now. They've legalised hemp in food because hemp seeds are really high in protein, and so there's a lot less regulation, which means that the hemp farms in Australia are doing really well. Rule number 2, okay, we've kind of kept ourselves cool, and now we want to keep our surroundings cool. So the first line of defence is to keep the heat out. I know at my house, if we haven't been home all day and we get home and it's been hot all day, it will be stinking hot inside. Whereas if we're home and we can kind of do a few things to manage the heat, it can be 10 degrees cooler inside than out. I don't have air conditioning in my house, although my husband Michael got us a plug-in air conditioner for the bedroom because he said, you're pregnant and it's summer, you've got to submit to the air conditioning. So we got one of those well, they say portable, but you have to, connect them to a window, so they're not that portable. Plug-in air conditioners from Facebook Marketplace, which has been good just to get the bedroom a bit cool before we go to sleep. But in general, the rest of our house doesn't have air conditioning, so it requires a bit of kind of manual managing. So keeping your curtains closed and shading windows is really effective, and you can do this in several different ways. Today's session really focuses on things that renters can do as well as homeowners. So obviously if you're a homeowner, you can install a lot of shade cloths and blinds and products like this. But today we're kind of looking at more MacGyvery techniques, I guess you could say. So if you move some of your pot plants into your windowsill, that's an easy way to do it as a renter. If you're not able to plant a tree outside of your west-facing window, you might be able to still put some temporary plants in pots that shade the windows and keep
Pardon me, the whole story with the sun and windows is you've got to keep the sun off the glass.
Yes.
So you have to have outside shade.
Yes.
It's imperative.
Yeah, so blocking the
Especially
sun
simple
before
glass.
it hits the glass and not afterwards. Yeah. So this is actually my house. This photo was from over a year ago. It's a bit messy, still under construction. But these shade cloth, shade sails, we've got 2 sets of skylights in this, there and there, and this is north facing. So our house faces exactly north. And so in winter it's great because that room stays really nice and warm and the warmth kind of comes through to the rest of the house. In summer, that room is terrible. Yeah, it's a bit of a nightmare. So we've got fly screens on these windows, and you can see these windows open half, 50% of the way. So we have those windows open and then shade sails on the skylights. That actually has made a difference of about 10 degrees in that room, putting those shade sails on with the windows open. So then we have a double French door into our main room that we keep closed. So the main room stays really nice and cool. Our bedroom stays really nice and cool, just keeping that door shut to the sunroom. The sunroom still is quite warm, but it's a lot better than it used to be. And I think those shade sails were $30, I think, cost us.
Triangular, terrible. Well, they really don't cover enough.
Yeah,
You need
Well-
a nice big pergola across the back there.
that's the plan. That's the plan. After we finish building the house, so currently we're building our bathroom and toilet, which is on this side, and then the pergola out the front will be the next job on our list.
Is that the front of the house, is it?
Yes.
All right, yes.
Yeah, so you can see the triangles need to be quite big
Mainly to cover these
to
skylights.
cover the skylights. Yeah.
Yeah. And with all that glass, you didn't need those skylights at all.
Yeah. It is a beautiful amount of light into the house though, and in winter we're glad for it, but in summer it's it does get quite warm.
Yeah.
So keeping your windows closed if it's hotter outside, and then opening your windows when it cools down. So when it's cooler inside, you really want to keep that cool in and keep the heat out. So having all your windows closed, and then as soon as you feel, okay, the temperature's dipped outside, it's actually cooler outside, that's when you open all your windows up and you get that cross draft through your house as well. So keeping your door closed, I just briefly mentioned this. When it's super hot, we close all the doors to the sunroom because that's the room that really heats up. It's a north-facing room, and that actually does a lot to keep the rooms in the other. Welcome, come in. The other rooms in the house nice and cool. The double glazed trick that is often spoken about in terms of keeping your house warm in winter also works in summer. So you can just spritz your window with water, stick up bubble wrap, which you can usually get for free from businesses as a waste product. That will do something to insulate your windows, especially if you have only single glazed windows in your house, which I think most of us unfortunately do. And you can also do this old trick, lining your windows with foil. You can get commercial proper products that do this, or if you're looking for a very quick DIY version, you can just use foil, and that is reflecting the sun back out, stopping it from coming in the windows. This is a bit of a winter hack that again works in summer, just insulating your doorways as much as possible, so you can hang all your jackets and things like that on your doorways to stop that heat kind of coming through the door. And you can also, if you don't have doors, doors in houses kind of went out of fashion for a bit, and everybody ripped out all the doors. I know my brother's house in Wendouree, they took out all the doors to have a bit of open plan living, but it's actually really impractical when it comes to keeping the heat or the cool in the rooms that you want it. So if you don't have doors between your rooms, you can also hang blankets or curtains over windows and doorways as well. You can even hang blankets or rugs on the walls to add another layer of insulation, especially if you live in an old Ballarat house with zero insulation in the walls, as a lot of them unfortunately have. Everything helps in terms of keeping that heat out of the room. And this is a great tip as well, rearranging your furniture seasonally, if you can, because bookshelves, but also wardrobes, chest of drawers, anything with a big mass will help insulate your room as well. So in summer, moving your storage to the north side of your house to stop the heat seeping in, and in winter moving it to the south side of the house to stop the cold seeping in from the south. And it's just a bit of a spring clean reset. Some people like moving their furniture around quite often, so may as well make it useful. Another tip is to check your roof insulation, because often if you've had a tradie up in the roof replacing a light or something like that, they'll often move the insulation bats and not put them back where they were after the job is done. So obviously buying insulation is quite expensive, but you may have already the insulation up there, but it's just not in the right place. So for this, what I would recommend is borrowing one of the thermal imaging cameras from Ballarat Library, or the library also have them as well, and you can just point it at your roof or at your walls and you'll find where your hot spots or your cold spots are without having to actually climb up in the manhole and crawl around in the roof and have a look at everything. You'll be able to just point it and say, you know, yep, that's all good, there's no gaps in the insulation, or, oh hang on, there's a massive gap over there, looks like some of the insulation's been moved, and then you know where.
And they are available at the library, are they?
Yes, they were, I think so. They were running a pilot program last year, and it was extremely popular. They were constantly booked out, so I'm assuming that you can still borrow them from the library. Yeah, they have them at the Central Library, but I believe that you can borrow them from any of the libraries, and they
Yes, you
tell you when it's ready to pick up.
Right.
Yeah. Rule number 3, stop the drafts. Again, this is often spoken about in terms of keeping the heat in winter, but it's the same issue keeping the heat out in summer. So you can be pretty low tech and use a candle to find the drafts, look for the flame to flicker, hold it near your window frames and your old floorboards. If you're in a Ballarat house with old floorboards, you should be able to see where the gaps are and where the heat's coming through. So draft excluders, not just for winter, really good for summer as well. They're cheap. I think to buy them from the shops, about $5. Instant and reusable, or you can make your own. Oh, well, you can use blankets and towels if you want, as a really quick option. Or you can make your own. I've done this in the past. An old pair of tights, you might have a pair of tights with a hole in them, or know somebody who does. 2 cardboard tubes from the inside of wrapping paper. See, this is really good if you're a hoarder like me that keeps all of their useful things around. Put your 2 cardboard tubes in one leg of a pair of tights, tie the end up, and you push it under the door so it actually stays on the door. So when you open the door and close it, it stays there. You're not having to kick the door snake back into place every time. So yeah, these are really good.
Good idea, yeah.
I did a demo of this in the Free Ways to Stay Warm session, but it's still on my door, so I should bring another one if it's just too useful. I use it all the time. You can also use the draft excluder tapes and those kind of products that you can get. Even if you're a renter, you can get ones of these that are removable. Because some landlords are funny like that, even when you're improving their property. And the door ones as well. Again, you can get removable versions that are really cheap. This is a really quick and easy kind of thing that you can do to stop those drafts coming in the doors and window frames. You can also do a DIY pelmet if you've got a curtain rod and a gap up, because as you say, Bill, the heat, hits the windows even if you've got the curtains closed. That heat rises, and if you don't have a pelmet, it's going straight up to the ceiling and heating the room. So this was another thing that kind of went out of fashion, and people ran around removing them from all their windows as if they were just for decoration, when actually they're quite functional and very useful. But if you don't want to install pelmets, you can just drape a scarf or a bit of material or a towel over the gap above your windows to block that heat from coming in as well. My mum had to do this at her house, and it made a massive, massive difference. Hanging curtains over, we talked about doorways before, but especially doorways to entrances or to stairwells, because that's where all your heat is going to come in. So she's got one on her entrance. That's not her house, but it's a similar kind of setup. because every time you're opening the door, obviously that heat, or in winter the cold, is rushing into the house. So if you can kind of contain your external doors in that way, it makes a really big difference. And stairwells as well, obviously heat rises. So if you've got an upstairs to your house, you'll know it gets really, really hot upstairs in summer. So you can close those areas off with curtains. If you have your bedroom upstairs or your office and it's too hot to even be up there, you can try and minimise that by having curtains at the bottom of the stairs. And that works in winter as well. So my mum's living area is downstairs, and before she put a curtain on the stairs, all the heat from the heater would just rush up the stairs and would be lost. And so having that curtain to close to keep that heat in where we wanted it has made a really big difference and improves the efficiency.
So that's just about keeping the heat up there, is it?
Yeah, depending where you need to be in your house. So in my mum's house, the living area is downstairs, so in summer we have the curtains open so that the heat can actually kind of escape.
On that picture, I wouldn't call that a curtain across the stairs.
Oh no, that's not. That's more about the entranceway. It's not a photo of the curtains across the stairs.
Right.
Yeah, hard to get photos.
Double-storey houses are terrible for that.
Yeah.
Nearly the design is such that the stairs are always open because it's supposed to look great.
Yeah.
And it's a disaster.
Yeah. A lot of
People
houses.
shouldn't build double-storey houses.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to close it off in most houses, would you?
Should have some sort of concealed sliding door or something that you can pull across, because the heat just goes straight up the top.
Yeah. And it is a bit of a fashion thing that now,
That's what I'm saying.
People want the
Too
open
right.
plan living
Exactly.
and
This is the way you can do it, but
yeah.
like it should be round the other way over the stairs, but
Yes.
it's probably open, so
Yeah.
therefore you can't do it.
Yeah, which luckily my mum's house, the stairwell isn't open. It is kind of a
Yeah.
hallway,
It's
so
just-
she can
It's
close
just
it
a
off.
tunnel for the heat.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rule number 4, move air around. So after it cools down outside, opening the windows and doors on opposite sides of the house creates an airflow through the house. Unless you build your own house, you can't necessarily choose where those windows and doors are. We built our house, so we were lucky enough to be able to position the back door so that the cross draft basically goes through the whole living area. So that really cools down our house a lot. But depending on the design of your house, you might not be able to kind of choose where that airflow goes. But if you can open doors and windows on the opposite sides and kind of get that cool air going through, it can make a really big difference. If we get cooler nights, I think the next week we are going to have, it is going to cool down at night. Sometimes it doesn't cool down, there's not much you can do. If you have ceiling fans, make sure that they're on the right setting. Most of them you will be able to reverse. So in summer you want them pulling air up to pull the hot air up. You don't want them pushing the air down, because all that hot air will be dumped back into the room. Whereas in the winter you do want them pushing down, because you want the hot air coming back down into the room. So just check which setting it's on. Sometimes the setting is literally on the fan, so it just depends what fan you have and how to change it. And this is me and Taiko again. So this is our house. We've got a polished concrete slab, which stays really nice and cool. And again, hot air rises, so stay as low as possible. Stay out of upstairs if you can. Stay out of north and west facing rooms if you can. And if it really gets to that, you can lie on the floor. Another tip when it cools down is, instead of facing fans into the room, which is kind of most people's, I guess, natural inclination, you can face fans outside. If it's hotter inside and cooler outside, you'll be pushing the hot air out rather than trying to introduce cool air into the room, trying to get that hot air out. But requires it to be cooler outside. So don't be doing that if it's hotter outside. And always use the extraction fan. Never underestimate the amount of heat that cooking and showering and things like that create. Even washing laundry and things like that, if you have an extraction fan nearby, turn it on, because again, the hot air is going to rise, and if you can suck all the hot air out of your house, the better. If you have a dehumidifier, you can also run it on really humid days, because dry heat tends to feel cooler than humid heat, even when it's technically not. I really struggle with humidity. It can be as hot as it wants if it's dry, and I'm fine, but humid heat I really struggle with. And humid heat, if you've got evaporative cooling, sometimes that doesn't really work, or doesn't interact well. So it might actually be a better idea to turn on a dehumidifier and just bring the humidity down inside, and it'll make it feel cooler. Always remember to clean your aircon filters. I'm not sure why that text is disappearing at the bottom, but they make it run much more efficiently. So this is a good tip in winter as well, but most aircons have these removable filters that all you have to do is vacuum the filter and it'll be clean, and you can put it back in. They run much more efficiently, and they work better when they're not struggling to get through all of that dust. And don't make heat in the first place. So if it is cooling down at night, which thankfully I think in the next couple of weeks it is, if you can hold off running your washing machine or your dishwasher and cooking until it cools down, and you can do it at night, that'll be a lot better than running your washing machine during the day, or your dishwasher, and kind of creating heat when it's hot. So if you can, wait until it cools down. Switch to LED light bulbs. They don't create any heat, whereas traditional light bulbs actually are super inefficient. They give off a lot more heat than they do light. So hopefully everyone's switched to LED light globes by now. I think that's kind of something that's been in transition for quite a few years now. They just use so much less energy in general, save a lot of money on your power bills, but they also just don't have that issue of creating heat and putting a lot of heat into the room. We're doing this today. Go out and make the most of places that have air conditioning. Public libraries, pools, shopping centres, find somewhere to go and hang out for the day. I work from home, so I can choose to go and work from the library and make the most of their air conditioning rather than being sweltering at home. Going to the movies on a hot day, also very popular. Make the most of aircon that is just already on, doesn't matter how many people are using it. Cooking outside or making no-cook meals to keep your kitchen cool. I think this is pretty, kind of just happens naturally, especially in Australia in summer. Barbecuing is a really big thing. People kind of switch to barbecue stuff and salads in summer automatically. But it is, a good idea to kind of keep your kitchen cool if you can cook outside. I've actually got some no-cook recipes coming at the end of the presentation, but one meal that I made this week that was really good was jerk chicken with coconut rice and mango salsa. I got my husband to barbecue the chicken outside, rice in the rice cooker, which is all self-contained, so it creates barely any heat, and everything else was just chopped up and put it in a bowl. So no stove on, no oven on, very cool, but still like a cooked kind of hot meal, if you understand what I mean. So some general power saving tips. Turn your aircon off when you go out or when you go to sleep. This is a bit of a contentious one. Some people say, oh no, it's more efficient to keep it on all the time. It depends what type of aircon you have, how long you're leaving the house, and what temperature you have it set at. but in general, it is better to turn it off if you're going out or when you're going to sleep. We have an aircon in our bedroom now, and we pretty much put it on a timer for an hour to cool the room down before we go to sleep and just keep it cool for that first little bit, and then have a fan running, and that's pretty much enough to keep us cool overnight, even though I have an internal furnace at the moment. So I think I run about 5 degrees hotter than everyone else at the moment. So I haven't slept with more than a sheet since before Christmas, I think, whereas my husband's got the doona on his side. I'm lying there sweltering, but usually having the aircon on just for an hour on a hot day is enough for us. And watch what temperature you're setting it at as well. In winter, people like to crank it up, and in summer, people like to crank it down. They say between 19 and 21 degrees is pretty much, you shouldn't need it much cooler or much hotter than that. And for every 1 degree, you can save 3% on your energy bill. So it is worth just, if you're used to 21, try turning it down to 20 and see how you go. If you're used to 20, try turning it down to, the other way in summer, yeah, I'm thinking winter. Turn it up by 1 degree. So yeah, if you're used to 18, try 19. If you're used to 19, try 20. And it can actually save you quite a lot of money on your energy bill. Unplugging chargers, especially things like laptop chargers, phone chargers. If you are in the habit of just having your laptop plugged into the charger all the time, they can actually create quite a lot of heat. You can feel the heat coming off the battery. So if you don't need things plugged in or turned on, turn them off where you can, because they will be creating heat and putting it into the room and using power as well. Only fill your kettle with as much water as you need. I don't know who's having hot cups of tea. I mean, I'm not a big tea drinker anyway, but Grace is, my mum's the same. My mum was helping me sort out some baby stuff the other day. It was swelteringly hot, and she said, I'm going to go home and have a nice hot cup of tea. And I thought, you're insane. But people find it refreshing.
It works though.
It works, yeah. Well, a lot of hot countries drink a lot of tea, so there must be something in that. But if you only fill your kettle with as much water as you need for 1 cup, it boils for a lot less time, and it's not sitting there in your kitchen steaming, putting hot steam into your kitchen. So just put in as much as you need, not fill it up every time. Just a simple tip. And check what temperature your water heater is on as well. This is more of a winter tip, but a lot of water heaters in houses now are limited for what temperature they're actually coming in the house. It's actually 50 degrees, but if you turned your water heater down to 50 degrees, you can get to dangerous territory where bacteria and algae can grow. But if you turn it down to 60 or 70, that's hot enough that nothing bad is going to grow in your water heater, but it's just not heating up to 90 degrees and then being limited to 50 degrees in the house and just wasting all that energy and that heat, building it up to that temperature, which is way higher than you actually need it. So just check what temperature it's on. You might be able to turn it down. If your fridge is full, if your food is freezing in your fridge, it means that your fridge is too high or too cold, depending on how you look at it. So you might be able to turn it down to a lower setting. This happens in my fridge a bit. So if your food is freezing, you can turn it down. And if you don't have a full fridge, you can make your fridge full by keeping bottles of water. This is obviously a bit of a joke.
A bit over the top.
Yeah, a bit over the top, but funny for the demonstration. So same with your freezer as well. If you find you have a fridge or a freezer that's bigger than you need.
It certainly works.
And yeah, it works, and it makes it a lot more efficient. And it means that in summer you've got cold water or ice to use to cool yourself down if you need it. if I ever have space in my freezer, I put some bottles of water in there. I don't buy bottled water, I reuse soda water bottles or Tupperware drink bottles or that kind of thing, things that are freezer safe. And then if you go travelling or camping or you need an ice pack for the car, I just put those in my esky or my pool bag. You go grocery shopping, you can chuck a frozen bottle of water in your cool bag to keep that cool on the way home from the shops. I just find it's always useful to have cold water or ice if you have room in your fridge or your freezer. I would recommend filling the space because it's a lot more efficient and it's useful.
Use square bottles rather than round.
Yes, they fit together a bit better, don't they? I've got the Tupperware
Milk
drink bottles that are, milk bottles, square, fit together a lot better. Washing your clothes with cold water. I always wash my clothes with cold water. I've never had any issues, colours running or anything. It actually cuts your energy usage by half, and it's better for the life of your clothes as well. It actually keeps your clothes nicer for longer, and in summer it's not creating the heat. So it's kind of a win all round. So if you're not already washing your clothes in cold water, make the switch. Air drying clothes, it's free, obviously. It's also better for your clothes. In the long run, it extends the life of your clothes. And in summer, when it's hot and it's dry, washing your clothes and then drying, air drying is very quick, and it also humidifies the air. So if it's super humid, that's probably not, you don't necessarily want that. But if it's a really dry heat, some air drying clothes can be a really good thing. In winter, just be careful of this. If you have a really sealed house, it can create the condensation. In summer, if you've got a Hills hoist or that kind of classic Australian clothesline, they're really good. I don't, so we just dry out stuff.
Outside clotheslines are wonderful.
Yeah, I don't have one unfortunately, but I would love one.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Or we might actually end up putting one in when we get the pergola done.
They're free.
Yeah.
Solar powered.
Yeah, solar power. Well, at the moment we have my husband put up wire in the sunroom that we hang clothes over.
It's inside though.
In the sunroom, yeah. But it dries the clothes extremely quickly, and it actually shades from the sunroom. If we've got a sheet hanging up, it shades the windows into the main part of the house. So it's,
Dual purpose.
yeah, it's a second line of defence for us in terms of the shade cloths. It's just a graph demonstrating how much of our household energy use is actually dedicated to heating and cooling.
Wow.
So as you can see, it's 40% of our household energy use is generally committed to heating and cooling. So a lot of these tips, they kind of might seem a bit simple, or some of them are common sense, but when you add them all up together, it makes a really big impact. And you're going to be using a lot less power, you're going to be paying a lot less on your power bill. Because you've got 40% of your energy use there to play with and try and reduce.
I would have thought the water heating is slightly higher than that.
Yeah, 23.
People don't realise, I was reading this morning, some people they're complaining about their family having 40-minute showers. 40 minutes, that's...
What are you doing in there? Gonna having a nap?
I said, go out and turn the meter off.
I had friends that had you got the water heater where you can set the temperature or turn it off, and their parents it was outside the bathroom, so you're taking too long in the shower, you just turn the hot water off and the water goes cold. That cuts the shower short. But water heating's a lot as well, and easy to cut down on in terms of shortening your showers.
Oh, this stupid figures.
Is there someone around that can come and check out where all of your costs are going?
Yeah.
As in, my water bill
Yeah.
is 3 times what my rest of the house is.
Really?
And something's not
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right,
No,
does
it's
it?
not.
No.
And the power company don't want to know about it.
Hmm. Yeah, that doesn't sound right. Well, there is a Dale Boucher is a local home efficiency auditor. So he his website's there, boucherconsultancy.com.au. He comes out, and Grace, you had Dale come out to your house.
We actually didn't, but there's options like that, which is. I think it's roughly it's about $300 and something to get him to come out.
Yeah.
He'll audit your whole house and give you a plan very specific to your house. But there would be ways that are cheaper than that. So
Yes.
by doing some research, it's up to, but Dale would be definitely the place to go, like for.
Yeah, he's a very well regarded kind of local expert. It is about $300-ish dollars to get him to come out, and he goes through your entire house and comes up with a step-by-step plan. Breeze, who run Smart Living Ballarat, have connections with Dale and with a few other people locally as well, and they had some home efficiency workshops planned for this year.
There are some home efficiency workshops, which will be free through Breeze.
Yes.
But it sounds like, there's certain things that you might be able to, even if you're using Facebook, that My Efficient Electric Home, if you go looking and search for keywords like hot water, energy, water bill, there'll be posts about it, and you may just find that it's something like your shower head, which is it's a really simple solution. Your shower head, if it's got a really high flow, it can make the difference of hundreds of dollars of how much you're spending on your hot water. Or it could be on your gas, if it's gas. It could be the thermostats that just up really high and you just need to lower it down. So it could be something really easy, but yet it's costing you so much money. So it's worth checking those two things.
I've had to turn the hot water off.
So you've turned.
It's off.
So you've still got. Wow. Yeah.
It's stupid.
Something's not right.
No.
You need trouble. Yeah.
So My Efficient Electric Home is a really good Facebook group. It's run by Tim Forsey, who's a Melbourne home efficiency expert. He was just in Ballarat actually on Sunday for the Budding Young Expo, and he's got a book out which is available at the libraries. I think they're all booked out. Maybe at the moment they didn't have a copy here to show. But he's got that new book, which is awesome. I believe the library has about 6 copies of it, and Breeze has some copies of it as well. There's also some information on the CSIRO website. There's kind of a lot of information online that you can access.
I think the state government, they subsidise, I think, that somebody comes out and installs in your meter box this thing, and then you have an app
I've got that.
on your phone, and then you can check how much power is being used by certain appliances. So that's what you've got. That's how you know it's the electric hot water.
Yep.
Interesting.
Comes on at midnight, goes flat out till the 3 and it turns off
Whoa.
every night. And just, as I said, for the rest of the house, the peak is $100 for 3 months. The off-peak is $300 for 3 months.
Something wrong, isn't it?
Yeah. Interesting.
Is it an old hot water service you've got?
Yes, it's getting towards the end of its life, but it's just an electric, ordinary storage. Nothing special about it.
For something like that.
Is it on off-peak? Is it on night rate?
Yeah.
Well, I get it on my bill, it's listed as off-peak,
Oh, okay.
but I don't think there's an off-peak feed. I doubt it somehow, because I go to my smart meter, and if you look at the smart meter,
Oh, yeah, well,
it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, then 7 is off-peak reading,
Yeah,
and there's nothing there.
yeah, right.
be worth getting a plumber or an
I've had
electrician.
them.
Oh, you've had them out?
Yes, and then they say, oh, we'll get power cord to come out and have a look, and it's $1,500 for them to pull up in the driveway.
Ah.
Plus.
Oh.
Jesus, can't win.
Right.
If you can afford it, I perhaps would speak to Dale. I think he might be the person to who could, look at something. And it might be that you need to, if your heater is coming to the end of its life, it might be worth investigating some grants available because there's quite a few grants.
Oh, well, I looked at it.
Yeah.
At Bunyan on the weekend.
Oh, yeah.
The
Heat pump.
heat pumps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's various varieties of those.
Yeah.
Don't know how good the cheap ones are, but there's lots of different ones.
Yeah, they cost about a third to run.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the rail system.
It's heading in the right direction.
Yeah.
The heat pumps, they cost money to start with, of course.
Yes.
But there are grants and loans available. So
And if you're replacing one that's leaking or something or other, the heat pump, regardless of what it costs, it saves you money.
something you could, if it's a replacement of an old one, I think you could be looking at about 4,000 to replace.
How much?
About 4,000. Someone told us at the weekend at the Bunningham.
Less than that. Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Oh,
Amazing.
The Chinese ones have.
Well, nearly everything's made offshore, so these days.
Yeah, all that's true. We don't make too many.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know all about it, so talk to me if you like.
Yep.
All right. That sounds promising. So here's my bonus round of meal suggestions, because anyone that knows me knows I love food. Starting with the very basics, sandwiches. Always a classic, but do try and make sure you got some protein and veggies in there. A Vegemite sandwich for dinner is not going to be very filling. Salads, any type of salads, coleslaw, green salad, Greek salad, egg salad, niçoise salad. I don't really feel like eating salads in winter, but something about summer weather that changes
Does change the thoughts.
what you crave. Souvlaki wraps. Everything's cold here, including the yogurt sauce. Apart from the meat, but you can just get a pre-cooked chicken from supermarket and shred it and put it in there, so no cooking required. This is a bit of an elaborate example. I think this one might have been a platter I made for my mum's birthday or something. But you may have heard of girdle dinner, which is a trend, also called bitsa stuff. Dinner, platters, can't go wrong in summer. Again, everything's cold, you don't need to heat anything, no cooking required. Just chuck a bunch of stuff on a platter and it looks fancy. Tacos, similar to souvlakis, you can just grab the pre-cooked meat at the supermarket so you don't have to cook it or cook it outside on the barbecue. Everything else is no cook, just chuck some salad, crumble some feta on there, some herbs. No cooking required. Rice paper rolls, anything with rice paper is really good because you don't need to boil it like pasta. You can just put it in, you basically cook it in boiling water, hot water for a very short amount of time, and everything else is assembled cold. That's an example of vermicelli noodles. So to cook rice noodles, all you do is put some boiling water over the top and let them sit for a couple of minutes, and they'll be cooked rather than boiling your stove for 20 minutes to cook some pasta. And same with couscous. A bit of boiling water in couscous, 2 minutes, and it's cooked. That's I love Vietnamese vermicelli noodles. So again, that's using just barbecue chook from the supermarket, shredded salad, on your noodles that have cooked in a couple of minutes in hot water, bit of sauce over the top. Very, very cool dinner to get together on a hot night. And rice, as much as rice requires cooking, if you have a rice cooker, they're insulated and self-contained, so they actually don't give off that much heat. So anything with rice, like a rice bowl or some sushi or that kind of thing, is great when it's super hot. And talking about food, our next session will be a cheap eat session. So it's back here at Sebastopol Library, same time, 4th Wednesday of the month, 12:30 to 1:30, so it's March 26th. And I will be doing the presentation again, going through a bunch of different ways to lower your grocery bills, from shopping smarter to lowering your food waste, all different types of tips. Again, some food and recipe tips because I can't help myself. And yeah, lots of different tips. Best places to shop in Ballarat, comparing price per kilo, comparing fresh versus frozen versus canned, all of that kind of stuff will be in that next session. So any question? I don't know what time do I have.
It is Papa's one.
Papa's one. Look at that. Hang on. How's that for timing? Any other questions about today's presentation?
Find out where the cheap eats place to buy food in Ballarat.
Yeah.
You've been to all everywhere, haven't you?
Yeah. I'm a bargain hunter.
A bit of research.
Yes. So I've gone around and taken photos of price per kilo at Wilson's, Curtis Fresh, Farmers Market, Supermarket, NQR, all of those kind of shops.
Yep.
I'm a big shop around kind of person. And my dad, Steve, is actually the manager of the Farmers Market, so I've got a bit of a conflict of interest with the Farmers Market there. But, people talk about the Farmers Markets as being expensive, which can be true, especially for like packaged products. But for fresh fruit and veg, it's often a lot cheaper.
Which Farmers Market are you talking about? There's lots of
the one around the lake, Sea Drive?
around the lake, not down the Mel.
No, not the Mel.
Not Ballarat East. No, Brown. There used to be one.
Used to be one in Brown Hill, which was my dad as well. Yeah, but then the market grew too big, so it's around the lake twice a month now. I'll have some comparisons, actual photos of price per kilo at different places. Often showing that the supermarket's not the cheapest place to buy stuff, even though people often think, that's...
It's easy.
It's easy, it's convenient, but there's a lot better options around, and buying local products can actually be a lot cheaper.
But moving around between A and B is not cheap just to start the car.
Yes.
So then pop along to the next session after that, because it's about moving about without a car.
And I find that there's kind of two concentrations of my favourite shops, or like the best value kind of shops, which tend to actually be in Sebast and in Wendouree. So in Sebast you've got Curtis Fresh, you've got Sinclair's Butchers, you've got quite a few NQR, and then in Wendouree again you've got the other NQR. I do love NQR. So there's kind of these little concentration hotspots of places that are kind of the best value, I guess. I live in Ballarat East, which there's not many shops out there, so I kind of have to travel to buy food anyway. The Victoria Street IGA is my closest supermarket. It's not that close.
It's not bad, but it's not fantastic.
Yeah.
I suppose it's one of those things where it's about changing your behaviour. So like if you're going to one area, make that journey worthwhile, and stocking up while you're there, and then not having to do that journey again for a while because you've done all the things you need to do. But
So I live the other side of town to Sebast, so often if I'm doing this session in Sebast, I'll drop past the butcher and the Curtis Fresh on the way home and things like that. It's kind of just tying in your trips to your daily life and where you're going anyway, and batching errands and things like that. We'll be discussing all of that at the next session, March 26th, back here.
Back here,
Back here, yes. Yeah. Was there any questions online? No, all good? Cool, and I'll post that checklist online as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Alan.
And don't forget your checklist, so you can run through all the tips at home. Make sure you've got doing them all.